Alright guys, it's Scrappy again. I hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. OpTic will go into their home major with a positive record, but certainly not the record they were hoping for and far away from the number one seed. A massive result against none other than Xceed tonight, and big talking point not just from their team but also from the fans and the people behind the scenes at the organisation as well. Scump, among others, not especially pleased with the listening, especially in this Raven series, bringing the energy that you would expect a World Championship reigning team to bring. Lots of talking points on both series tonight. Very much enjoy your thoughts on the comments, hit the like button if you enjoy, subscribe if you're new as always. This was the situation going into the day. These were the standings. OpTic were sitting seconds. I mean, really it was all tied between Falcons, OpTic and FaZe at 4-2. Look, it's an interesting one in terms of the matches still to come because of how competitive this all is. OpTic could still finish in a number of positions in terms of seeding. It's, as it stands even on Friday, just a couple of days before the final couple of matches, we really have no idea what this bracket is going to look like at all. A lot can still change, but OpTic are done. That was their final qualifier match before their home major in Dallas. Well, we'll get into what happened. So it all started off, and this was one of those series, and we've seen it from OpTic in the past, right? They start out a little bit slow, then they turn it on, they get the map win. Nero had a great start to game one. We've also seen that before, right? Nero often comes out of the gates frying early on in series, but he can't necessarily back it up as the series comes to a conclusion. A different story today. And look, last weekend's Ravens, they took down Toronto. That looked real impressive. Toronto also lost today, so difficult to argue one way or the other. The point arguably is, though, that Ravens are going to take some beating right now. Certainly online, I know there will be some talk about that, but they have played some great stuff, and they're playing at a pace that is going to make them a difficult force to stop. And yes, there will be criticism, and very valid criticism, on OpTic's play today. But Ravens also deserve serious credit. Xceed's come in, they've now won their last 4 series on the bounce. Lots of talk, of course, about Slash's involvement here. Slash is slow. And look, since Xceed's come in, they have played with greater pace, no doubt. Lurqxx, Nero, Craze, all showing off the talent that those guys undeniably have, which is why it made some sense, right? Put them with Slasher, veteran player, get the most out of the talent, go from there. But it looks like Xceed is just doing a far better job of making that happen right now, certainly online. Slasher would say, let's see them do it on LAN. And I think he's probably still got a point there. But look, we'll see how this goes. But OpTic bring it back. They win the game one, take over from a couple of players, and it was a good start for Ravens, but then OpTic really came through. Nero's great start kind of flatlined somewhat, and OpTic take the game on. You think, okay, well then they might be back, right? Maybe it's time for OpTic just to get a nice, comfortable series win, show that we called it a fall off. We did a video talking about OpTic's fall off and Shotzzy's fall off individually and all this. But look, is it a fall off? Is it an inevitable slump as the process of being the reigning champions? Sure, you're going to have a period like this, but there's no doubt they're not playing the same level of COD they were, even I would say back in December, and certainly not the level that would be expected, not just by the green wall, but also the reality that these guys dominated the end of last season and are the reigning champions. So your level is expected to be higher. We've seen this from OpTic in the past. They go to a break, they come back, they're not maybe the same team that they used to be. I think there was a feeling that with Mercules, times might have changed on that front. Like, since Merc's come in, seems to have a different personality, like he's more calmer, like in his approach. That's why Karma as a coach likes him so much. But it doesn't seem like he's immune, not exactly Mercules, but it doesn't seem like he's made the team immune from this type of thing, because we've seen this type of thing happen to OpTic in the past. They've gone through bad periods. Last season really exemplified everything on that regard. But then going forwards, they figured it out, they sorted it out, and they went forwards from there. But it doesn't look like that era has come to an end just yet. So Huke makes a nice play here to keep them alive in the search and destroy, but shortly after, really Ravens just ran away with the search. It was a 1-1 tied up series. Dashy didn't have a great map, nor did he look especially happy. And that was the talking point, especially going into the map 3. This was a nice little 3-piece here from Nero as well. Good plays out of Nero, Craze, Lurqxx, and of course the big takeover we'll discuss in a second in the overload. But speaking of the overload, this is when they decided to give us the listen-in with OpTic Texas. They could have done Ravens, they were dominating at the time. Remarkably enough, Xceed is on Golden Boot Watch, even though he's not been in the league that long. So it's actually very impressive. And look, maybe this is expected to an extent. We know that the players in challenges They get a lot of good practice in December because they play tons of tournaments, more than the pros do. So signing a Challengers player about now or like early part of January towards the end of Major 1 often is the best time to do it if there is a time. Of course, that was not the same for Mercules. That kid's so good, you bring him in whenever you can, effectively. If other teams will ever get the chance to do that, probably not. OpTic will have Mercules under lock and key. Is he going to become the new Warlord? I don't know, there's been some talk. This was a pretty bad map from OpTic in multiple regards. They did go on to score one more after this, but very quickly out of the gates, they went down 2-0, they went down 3-0, they got a cap back at the end of the first half, but then Ravens just kept on going. Craze and Lurqxx were taking over, having some crazy pop-off moments. And look, Ravens played today with far more teamwork than OpTic did. I think Ravens' performance of the 4 teams we saw today was the best, really. Even Toronto and Gentlemen, they played well, but I think Ravens were still a level above that. Their teamwork, the trading, the pace they played on the map, very impressive. So I think that's worth keeping in mind. Ravens are actually pretty good, certainly in the current environment. But OpTic should still not be losing to them, right? And especially when you go to a listen-in with the team, you're expecting a bit of fight, right? Bit of energy. You're losing to Exceed. It's a big win as well, right? Because, yeah, they're going to be in winners anyway. I mean, I don't see a world where they don't get to winners. Maybe there's a world where so many matches can go a certain way and it can happen that they start and losers at 4-3, but very, very unlikely. They will be in winners somewhere. The question is, who do they play? A 5-2 record is much nicer than a 4-3. 4-3 records, they might play FaZe round 1. They could play another real top team. They might play Ravens round 1, right? That's also a possibility, and where they might not want to be. So this is an important series. It's not just like, oh, well, we're number 1 seed anyway, who cares? We'll just practice the map pool, right? Like, you got to bring some energy to the table. And yeah, I appreciate they are losing pretty badly here. They might be a little checked out, but also you can't afford that, right? Like, you can relay in Overload. You can bring a game like this back. You get the 5-4, which is not impossible here. All of a sudden, there's a bit of talk. On Den, the kind of relays can happen if you get them in the trap, or Scar, sorry. But, it applies to multiple maps, but on the Scar, it's definitely true. But yeah, as Octane says, that OpTic listening, ... ellipsis. And we see the same reaction, really. Zoom was listening to it, and then, of course, Scump was listening to it, and was like, damn. And look, this is true. Scump's not wrong. Everyone tries to bring their best level against OpTic. It's always been like that. It's always going to be like that. It's always the big series. If you're Ravens, if you're really any team, when you play OpTic, the most eyeballs are on you. You're always trying to play your best stuff. And because of that, OpTic, maybe they have a harder time in some of these series than other teams do. But even then, that's no excuse, right? The reason why they're hyped to play you is because you're meant to be the best team. You're the reigning world champions. Obviously, they're going to be hyped to play you. Not just the OpTic fan base stuff. It's, they're meant to be the best team in the game. So you've got to live up to that level. And Scump says, look, if we need to bring the energy, if the other teams are going to do that as well, Formal was not especially happy either.
He's going for bar now.
Done. We gotta wrap these guys in ours.
We just ate the left location.
It's
chalked. Yo, Lurqxx is top wood set. He's going top dark. Top dark.
Top in and
Top hand.
Do not call it out!
Oh my god, can we please fucking utter words?
Oh my god, the dead space is paining me physically.
I'm not talking about the video game.
Well, I'm gonna go left here.
Can I go?
He's back. Witchers on me. Witchers, they're shot.
In shop.
Top wood, Reek. I need help.
I'm trying to help, bro.
Down me, I'm a bullet.
Dude, low as well. Low and top.
Top weak.
Oh, no.
There's 2 on me. Exceeds a bullet. And one guy's just pushing there.
One's RSF1 as well.
There's Sat's weak.
RSF1
I got ball.
I don't think Brandon has set a
word
word
yet.
yet.
Somewhere.
One could be our wall.
He's bottom blue.
Has Brandon said
Set.
anything?
Bottom blue.
Yeah, he has.
He's dropping seed. He's on a search. He is now. He's talking.
Well.
I mean, these comms
it's just snowstorm comms, bro. I hate it.
Yeah.
They're just flat, and I can almost guarantee if you switch to Carolina right now, they're common like it's champs.
Yeah. Dude, low as well. Low and top.
Like
Which they should be.
we gotta realize, like,
There's 2 on me. Exceeds a bullet. And one guy's just pushing.
everyone wants to beat us, bro. I feel like we're not coming out.
You always get everyone's
fire.
100% when we
Yeah,
play
we're not
Brown.
coming out fire.
One could be our wall.
He's bottom blue.
I don't know, man. We might be sacrificing these matches for like later year games, like last year.
Pushing up on the right.
Top wood and first ball.
which was a strategy that we discussed behind closed
Let us hear Carolina now, yo, League. Let us hear Carolina.
So Exceed absolutely cooking it en route for the golden boots as it stands, right? This guy has been putting in some work and overload so far. I think I don't know if he still has it after that map, but he did before this series have the #1 overload KD in the league, and he was scoring all the points. So very impressive. And then the map 4, OpTic pretty much just rolled over and died here, to be honest. Like, this was not close at all. Multiple moments where, I mean, Raven just played with more pace. They made better decisions. The OpTic, the trades just weren't really there. Like, Lurqxx found himself a couple of times in a nice position to get some damage done, and OpTic just either didn't read it, or when they did get the information, they didn't approach it in the right way. Look, we didn't hear the comms from map 4, but if they were anything like map 3... it will be no surprise where they went on to lose this series. Series is over, Mercules is out of the chair, Dashy's out of the chair. Not where they'd want to be. You know, there was obviously a lot of talk about the FaZe series when they got 3-0'd by FaZe. Like, okay, it's a good opportunity for a wake-up call. OpTic now will be, you know, well positioned to bounce back. I think Dashy even said it, right? That, okay, it's not bad to lose in that way. It gives us a couple of weeks timeline to really lock in for the major. What does this count for, right? Like, the Burger King's cooked something special. Exceed didn't really tweet much about it. Pretty much all he said was, like, GG's, we've got to get better at map 1s. But it's not like he was getting crazy hyped on socials, which maybe he would have been within his rights to do. But I think, you know, Exceed deserves credit, right? Because he's put his head down the last couple of years. He's blocked out a lot of the noise, and he's got an opportunity, and he's really thriving with it. Actually, yeah, this is the tweet. GG's OpTic 131. I think we just don't like map 1s. But, yeah, maybe that will change. And if Ravens get better at map 1s, then who knows, right? The sky's the limit for this team. So Mercules 0.85. Difficult conclusion to the series for him. Both map 3 and map 4 were not good for Merc at all after a good map 1 and a really good map 2 where he was often the difference maker for OpTic, although it didn't matter in the end. We talked about at the start of the season, a lot of OpTic's series, they were getting bailed out by superstar performances from Merc. And look, he can still do that, but he, even individually, is in a little bit of a slump. And I don't know, is that associated with Merc's current opinion towards the state of the team? It's clearly, I think, Mercules getting frustrated last weekend. Dashy said it. He called one of the plays that Dashy made in the overload against Surge unacceptable. I think Mercules, and probably Karma too, are getting kind of frustrated with the way that things currently are, and that's going to have to change fast, because, look, OpTic's goal is to win champs again for the 3rd time in a row. You're going to have swings and roundabouts on that journey, but Major 1 is very important, right? Like, it's a home major, they're collecting the rings there, you're the world champions in front of your home crowd in Texas, like, you got to perform. And right now, they are in winners brackets, almost certainly, but it is not guaranteed that they're going to perform well at the major if they keep playing like this. The other series, Toronto Gentlemates, absolute banger, no surprise at all. I mean, if there was any series that you could predict to go Game 5, this would have been the one. Toronto, their Search and Destroy is just bad, really. And that's what's holding them back right now. Like, Gentlemates didn't play great today, I don't think, but they got bailed out by some good plays in Search. This was actually a crucial moment in the map 1 hardpoint. If Ghosty doesn't throw his trophy right here and he gets this kill, it's probably a very different map, but because he gets bad timing, well, it's not bad timing, he chose to give himself bad timing and died, that gave Toronto the map win. Gentlemates, though, dominated the map too, wasn't close. Sib was making some nice plays with the sniper. Insight with the sniper against Sib with the sniper. Different levels, unfortunately, in that 1v1 battle here. Then Toronto handled business nicely in the overload. Ghosty got absolutely slammed this map, and he was getting slammed at the start of the hardpoint as well. You know, at this point, it looked like it was game over. GG. Toronto have got it, but yeah, Toronto, the way they play some of those rotations in hardpoint, what you'll find generally, the top teams, they like playing for scrap time. I don't know if they've crunched the numbers or whatever, because if you're playing fundamental COD, you might think, oh, well, 20 seconds, we hit the rotation and all this, but actually, maybe sending one guy to old, contesting for 5-10 seconds while the other guys rotate, when you add that all up at the end of the map, that makes a big difference. And it's not like the hills on this game or on a map like this are so difficult to break. Like, yeah, if you're rotating to Grandma's Hill on Fringe, then yes, rotate at 30-40 seconds, that's fine. But a lot of the games nowadays, that doesn't really apply. So Toronto, they went up big, and then, they want to play fundamentally sound COD. They hit the nice early rotation. then they lose all the scrap, they get broken, and it's a tie game. And we've seen that a couple of times. Anyway, again, massive takeover from Gentlemates. Gentlemates took over, sure, but like I think this was more of a Toronto squander, really, after the advantage they had. Then it goes to a game 5, where Toronto took a nice early lead. Insight didn't really do much. But Gentlemates, their search is just a little bit too good. So they get over the line, they get the win. Pretty key win, right? That puts Gentlemates at 4-2. Toronto are now 3-3. A little precarious, certainly more precarious than they would have liked it to have been. It was really only JoeDeceives and Neptune that were positive. Ghosty fought back to near enough even, so a solid series, but you know, nothing spectacular out of Gentlemates at all, but they did enough. And Toronto, now at 3-3, their next game is against, if it loads, G2 tomorrow. And that's going to be a big one, because G2 also are in a must-win situation to make it to the winners bracket, and probably must win quite convincingly to get the map count they need. So that's a really important series. Again, we know that G2 love going game 5, and Toronto right now are struggling a little bit in the search and destroy. So very much interested your thoughts on all of this stuff in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.